also kind of see there's a little opening there, and I may have cut it a little bit too close to the center, but there is a sinus that flows inside there. There it is. Okay? That's the transverse sinus. And you just need to know where it's located. The transverse sinus is that sinus between in here, between the cerebellum and the cerebrum. Okay? Flows in here. Also a little triangular space for blood to flow. Can't get in that one so good. All right. So what you're going to then do is, you can slowly peel this off. It should start to come off, and you may need to snip little areas like this, and you can actually see that's actually a cranial nerve right there. We have lots of cranial nerves. You're not going to have to identify all the cranial nerves. I'll show you which ones you need to know. Now I can then come up front here. I can start to this should just peel off, okay? But I don't just want to rip this off. Okay, I want to actually keep, I can cut this part away. I want to keep those optic nerves intact as best I can. So you may want to just spend a little bit of time on this, and you can get rid of most of that stuff. But I'm going to come around this nerve here. And when I get to this part, I don't just want to cut right across. I'm going to try to get on top of the nerve itself. So I'm just right under the dura, and I'm snipping this way. Let's just see what happens. And then I can, there's the pituitary gland. I've given up trying to keep it intact, so I pull up here, some blood vessels. See that little white, yellowish part sticking up there? I'm gonna snip that. Sometimes it falls out. Hang on, I'll get you. It's hard to see from where you guys are. Okay. That's just one. So then I could just rip it off, and you can see the pituitary gland's still in there. That's actually the spot where it was attached to. We'll look at that in a moment. Okay. All these things that I'm pulling off here, these are all cranial nerves, but they're too small and too fragile to keep them all intact, and we're not going to label all of them. Okay. All these little things here are each, these are little cranial nerves. Let's see, from the pons, that's probably like 7 or 8 right there. Facial nerve, or vestibulocochlear, there's another one that would come in. You get these little, these are the nerves themselves coming into the brainstem. Those are all cranial nerves. Okay? But you see these two little flaps right here. 1, hello, and 2. Those are your oculomotor nerves. Okay, so we'll just look at 1, 2, 3. Good enough for me. There's olfactory, optic. See those little flaps? Oculomotor. This is going to be, just to give you an overview, then I'm going to let you guys do this, is the parts of the brain. It's okay. I didn't cut it now. It was just an old one, but it's open a little bit. Here's okay, olfactory, optic. Right behind the optic chiasm, when I start removing this dura, and it's very delicate. It's tightly attached to the nerves. So just be careful. You can snip little pieces off at a time and try to clear it off. But it is very tightly attached, like a sleeve, to these nerves. So it becomes a little difficult, but you should see an X right there if you can get some of this off. Let me get better scissors, but if I lift that up, let me see if I could just show you that X real quick. Just by removing part of this. You pull too hard on this, it'll pull the whole thing right off. But I'm trying to get over there just a touch. Just remove little pieces at a time. Anyway, you'll see an X. The X in the middle is called the optic chiasm, and then you see the part that continues back and dives deep into the brain. These are the optic tracts here. Nerve, chiasm, tract. Optic nerve, optic chiasm, optic tract. The portion just behind it, you'll see it, is where the pituitary attaches, right here, just behind the X. We call that the infundibulum. It would be a little stalk and holding this gland here. Okay. You can pull it out. It's a little P-shaped thing. Okay. Lots of blood vessels. This is all capillaries and stuff. It's very vascularized, so we can get right into the blood. Okay. Then they have this little other area, this little solid area. That's called the mammillary bodies. It looks like one thing. In humans, here's the optic chiasm. These are the optic nerves. They would cross right here and continue back as optic tracts. That little hole, these models used to have a little pituitary hanging from them by a little stalk, but that's the hole that I'm talking about here, the infundibulum, just behind the X. And then these two bumps, they're much bigger in humans. They're involved in memory and learning and part of the limbic system. Smaller in the sheep, but there it is, that little whitish area. That's the mammillary bodies. This little teeny area right here, that's all we can see from the outside of the hypothalamus. It's a very small area, even inside. But that's the hypothalamus, the infundibulum, the mammillary bodies, and then it goes up a little bit, but we can't see it from the bottom. But this little oval, this little shape right here, that's the hypothalamus. Then we continue back into, in the human it would be this portion. It's starting to go vertical now in the human, but we're still coming back here where the oculomotor nerves are. That's the midbrain. This bulge right here, what's that? That's the pons. Okay. And then we have from here to here is the medulla, and then the spinal cord. Medulla oblongata, right, and the spinal cord. Okay, so you guys can come up with your trays, grab one of these.
That's all?
Well, we're gonna look at all the structures on the outside, the top and the bottom. Look at where the lobes are, the different sulci. There's a central gyrus and all that stuff. And then we're gonna do a medial section of it. But wait until I show you how to do that so we don't carve them up too bad, okay? So just try to identify